Rodney Hinton Jr., who is accused of intentionally running down Deputy Larry Henderson, filed this 5-page civil lawsuit on Thursday. He did so himself without an attorney. Hinton says his civil rights were violated. I looked through the complaint. The defendants include the Cincinnati Police Department, the Hamilton County Justice Center, and 10 unnamed officers and deputies. Hinton claims excessive force used by police during his arrest resulted in him having physical injuries. He also focused on this: Hamilton County deputies packing the room for his arraignment on May 3rd.
Good morning, Mr. Hinton.
Hinton claims that coordinated presence was, quote, clearly intended to intimidate. On Monday, protesters gathered on the steps of the Hamilton County Courthouse. We were there as the Black Panthers and other groups voiced support for Hinton.
We sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Prosecutors say Hinton targeted Deputy Henderson after watching body camera video showing a Cincinnati police officer shooting and killing his son. Authorities say 18-year-old Ryan Hinton was pointing a gun at an officer. These protesters say they didn't see one in the footage.
They don't see Ryan being shot down unnecessarily as being what caused Rodney to respond in the way that he did.
Iris Rowley with the Cincinnati Black United Front watched on Monday. She says the city has championed police reform and policy in the past 25 years, but she says when it comes to Ryan Hinton's case, there's still work to be done.
We're waiting to see preliminary review of the video footage. We're looking at all of that. It's all to be reviewed. We do not have all of the facts yet, and so we are awaiting that.
In Cincinnati, Valerie Lyons, WCPO 9 News.
Answer. Because you are that, you are capable. You are gifted, and you are soon to be opinionated. It's okay to be different. And it's so okay to just be. The world awaits to receive you.
I could not be here breathing and be comfortable if I was really as bad as they was making it. You know, nobody could be around me. So for me to be this calm, I must have some kind of inner peace. And my inner peace is knowing that once everybody take the time to really see what type of person I am, you'd be surprised that I stuck around this long.
I have to make the life that I do live as happy as I can and try to do the best with what I have. You know, live the best life I can live, be as happy as I can be. Nothing is perfect for anybody. I don't.
Boys, I swear, I think I figured it out. You know why they don't want us redneck brothers and sisters and brothers and sisters getting along? You know why? Because we'd be unstoppable. I'm telling you right now, we would shut shit down.
Shut shit down. Blessings, blessings. Welcome to Uncensored Enlightenment Talk. And you're here with your host, Grace Levi. And today we're going to be going over the Rodney Hinton Jr. case and the Rodney Hinton case. Okay, there's going to be 3 court documents that I'm going to read to you today. One of the court documents is the lawsuit that's filed by the estate, or I believe the mother of Mr. Rodney Hinton Jr. And then it's going to be 2 documents: the lawsuit from Rodney Hinton, which is the father, the lawsuit against Cincinnati police, as well as the habeas corpus. And that is release the body. He's trying to get out of jail. So we're going to look at his filing. And then as we continue to pay attention and wait to the court date, we're going to keep giving you updates. So let's get started. Before we get into all of that, let's just do a little background on Cincinnati. This was just a couple of hours ago. Cincinnati has a major issue. I need to get some sound effects. Put the alarm on. Sound the alarm. Let's just do a brief history in Cincinnati. So this is family continues to fight for justice 10 years after son killed by police. Family continues to fight. This is what's you by WLWT. Okay. Now it says Cincinnati. Monday marks a decade since 22-year-old Quan DeVere Hicks was fatally shot by Cincinnati police in his north side apartment. Family continues. We're gonna watch this in 1 second. We're just gonna hit the red headlines real quick. His family continues to fight for justice throughout the city. On June 9th, 2015, Cincinnati police investigate a menacing call when they enter Hicks' apartment building through an unlocked door. So let's see what happened here.
Families fight for 10 years. Today marks a decade since Quandavia Hicks was shot and killed inside his apartment in Northside by Cincinnati police. Thanks for being here with us at 11. I'm Ashley Kirkland.
And I'm Chris Jacobs. Hicks's mother and the community, they're continuing to call for justice. WLWT News 5's Rachel Hersheimer live with the family's message tonight. Rachel.
Chris and Ashley, Quandavia Hicks was just 22 years old when he was shot and killed inside his apartment by Cincinnati police. And ever since that day, his mother has been sharing his story and keeping his case alive.
Quandavia Hicks, say his name.
10 years since Erica Woods saw her son.
I have 6 kids, and one is gone.
June 9, 2015, Cincinnati police officers investigated a menacing call when they entered Quandavia Hicks's apartment building through an unlocked door. Police chief at the time, Jeffrey Blackwell, said Hicks pointed a rifle at officers when they opened the door. Blackwell said one officer grabbed the gun and the other one fired one shot, hitting Hicks.
I got a call from people standing on the outside of the house to tell me that my son was killed.
Both officers were cleared of any wrongdoing and did not face any charges. But in 2016, Hicks's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit. They say officers violated the Fourth Amendment the way they entered Hicks's home.
This case has been pending for almost 9 years.
Hicks's family attorney, Rob Linneman, says this case has been to the Court of Appeals twice. A trial date has finally been set for November of this year.
It's been tremendously traumatic for the family to have this time period pass, this time of uncertainty, this time in which they're looking for closure, in which they really want their day in court and want finality to this.
No justice! No peace!
Until then, Woods will continue to fight for justice, even when the case is closed.
I'm not marching the street just for him. I'm not marching the street just for them. I'm marching the street for a nation.
Black Lives Matter!
And this does become a national fight. And I want to send love and blessings to Mr. Hicks and his family. This continues to this day. So this was just an update on this because it says the March. I want to see exactly. I'm going to look into this case and see what's the update. It really touched my heart. But the question is, why were they at his home? Was it a no-knock warrant? That sounds like a major constitutional violation. And again, because we have this new, Supreme Court judge's opinion, it will open up cases like this to be reviewing the totality of the situation. Did they enter legally? Did they have a warrant? How did they enter? How they executed, instead of just the point of when the excessive force happened, or the death. All right. So let's move on. I want to show y'all another article. Greater Cincinnati community shook after 3 shootings involved police in 3 days. This was March 3rd, 2025. Let's put it on the screen. All right. So this is the article. Let me just read a little bit about it. It has been a busy and violent couple of days for law enforcement in the tri-state area. 3 investigations are underway into 3 different officers involved shooting from Covington to Columbus Township and the Walnut Hills around 9:30 Sunday night. Cincinnati police were called to an apartment on Gilbert Avenue in Walnut Hills for a man with a knife. Police body-worn cameras showed the moments officers pleaded with the man to drop the weapon. Drop the knife, man. Please drop the knife, please. So let's watch this. Let's listen to what the news has to say. But as you see, it sounds like it's a serious issue in Cincinnati in the way they are policing. Let's play this real quick.
In the tri-state, 3 investigations are underway into 3 different officer-involved shootings, from Covington to Columbia Township, and then last night in Walnut Hills. WLWT News 5's Rachel Hersheimer joining us live from District 1 headquarters with what comes next. Rachel.
Chris, there are a lot of steps that go into an investigation after an officer-involved shooting. In many cases, departments will release body-worn camera after that shooting. That is what Cincinnati police did this afternoon. And in most cases, officers will receive mandatory professional help shortly after firing those shots.
Drop the knife, man, please. Drop the knife, please.
Around 9:30 Sunday night, Cincinnati police were called to an apartment on Gilbert Avenue in Walnut Hills for a man with a knife.
What's going on? I need you to talk to me.
Seconds later, the situation escalates.
Don't. Get down, get down. Put your hands down. Put your hands behind your back now.
Cincinnati police say officers shot 31-year-old Patrick Lyons, who's in the hospital and expected to recover. Chief Terry Thigi says Lyons was released from prison 2 months ago after serving 12 years for an aggravated robbery. This was the third officer-involved shooting in 3 days. On Friday, Covington police officers shot bank robbery suspect Charles Davis. He survived. Later that day, Hamilton County deputies were called to Cambridge Avenue in Columbia Township for a man chasing people with a baseball bat. When deputies arrived there, they say the suspect went inside, grabbed an axe, and threatened them. Moments later, deputies shot 39-year-old Robert Eldred, who was hospitalized in critical condition.
Let me stop right here. I'm shaking my head because I'm going to be honest. It sounds like a lot of mental illness is going on. And these situations is, I have to give it to the officers. At least they didn't shoot to kill. I'm going to have to give it to them. The first one where you see the guy bolting towards the officer, now that looked like a scary movie. That was ridiculousness. So that's why I say I kind of try to look at things from both sides, like put yourself in the officer's shoes. What would you do? You know, mindfully, you know, so he didn't die. But obviously there's some mental health issues going on in Cincinnati. So they may want to incorporate that in their police response because it sounded like they're a little crazy. The guy and then the other guy threatening people with a bat and then go inside and get an axe. Right. At least they didn't shoot to kill. I'm gonna have to give it to them. Okay. But this happened in the course of 3 days. I wonder what was in the water. Or was it a full moon?
I know police officers who had to take a life in the line of duty. This is not something that you want to do.
Gene Ferrara has been in law enforcement for 50 years, first serving as a training sergeant in the Cincinnati Police Academy for SWAT teams and officer survival programs. He was also UC's chief of police.
You get on this job to save lives, not take them. So if you're in a situation where you have to take them, it's terrible.
Even though we've seen 3 officer-involved shootings recently, Ferrara says it's uncommon.
95% or more of police officers go through a whole career and never have to fire their weapon. That's how rare it is.
I don't know about those statistics, but right there, that looked a little crazy. That looked like some Scream type stuff. Oh, God.
And Ferrara also says in the 50 years he served in law enforcement and the 5 years he served on a SWAT team, he never had to fire his gun.
All right, so what we're going to do is continue on. We're going to look at this article about Cincinnati police. And here it says Cincinnati police fatally shot 12 fatal shootings since 2015. No criminal charges for officer. So it's 12 fatal shootings. I'm going to reread the title. And that's the killer part. See, the thing is that we have to look at the situation to see if officers have to get, charges. This is really, how can I say? It's weird. You have 12 fatal shootings and no criminal charges for none of the officers. So everybody was just perfect. And that's where we get the big defect in the system. All right, let's get to it. When a Cincinnati police officer fatally shoots someone, the community responds. The fatal shooting of Rodney Hinton on May 1st is no exception. Some members of the public are calling for accountability. 2 parallel investigations are underway. Social media posts are discussing the officers who might be involved. City leaders are asking for patience. Hinton family has already secured a lawyer, but public sentiments is further complicated by Hinton's father, who is accused of fatally striking Hamilton County Sheriff Deputy Larry Henderson with the vehicle after his son's death. This year's marked 25 years since the shooting death of 19-year-old Timothy Thomas by Officer Stephen Roach, an event that sparked civil unrest and forced Cincinnati to have a revocation advocating over the role of police over the community. Okay. Since then, there has been numerous police reform, some enacted under the agreement with the federal government, and others that came as the department leadership change. When Michael Brown was killed in Ferguson, Missouri in 2014, it was Cincinnati activists who took copies of our city collaborative agreement to Ferguson to show the residents a path forward. And that's great. And that's what collaborative activism and advocating is sharing resources and making it happen, sharing things that may have worked. Okay. Cincinnati police have fatally shot 12 people since 2015. Cincinnati police officers have fatally shot 12 people since 2015 under a wide range of circumstances. There was Omar Santos Perez, the mass shooter of the 53rd Center, who killed 3 people and wounded 2. There were Mr. Hummings, who was killed after he called 911 on himself and then shot and killed Cincinnati police officer Sonny Kim. Okay, it's kind of real up there in Cincinnati. What y'all got going on? It's turned up. Wow. Then there is a case, and that's Kadaria Hicks, the ones that we just talked about. Okay. He was killed on the North Side on June 9th, 2015, after a Cincinnati police officer was sent to question Hicks after it was reported that he was making threats and brandishing a gun. Right. His family questions whether the police should have been in the hallway of his apartment without permission and whether Hicks even knew they were officers when he opened his bedroom door with the 22 caliber rifle. Okay, so that's a little bit more into that Hicks. I was like, okay, I want to learn a little bit more about that. So they didn't have a warrant. Allegedly, it had probable cause established by someone calling, but that's a thin line of probable cause. Probable cause is like you got a description of somebody who stole something. You have somebody making a report, but with that, with those circumstances, to go into someone's apartment or go knock on their door. I know the cops can do that because that's part of the investigation, but to enter the apartment or not to identify themselves, that is major issues. Even though I don't know if that's the circumstances, but that's some of the things that we have to kind of look at when we have these officers involved shooting, the full situation now. And that'll be able to help a lot of people get justice. So this is another one. We're just looking into Cincinnati just a little bit because the block is hot in Cincinnati. Okay. Man killed in Greater Cincinnati. Officer involved shooting identified. And this was May 27th. All right. It was updated May 31st. Let me put it on the screen. It's going up. This is going on across Black neighborhoods across the United States. This is like a cookie cutter of events. Let's play this real quick.
The Butler County Coroner identifies a man killed in an officer-involved shooting. 47-year-old Michael Anthony Baker was shot Tuesday morning as police served a search warrant in connection with a drug investigation at Baker's home on Garden Avenue in Middletown. Baker's girlfriend was shot in the leg as well. Police say Baker was holding a gun when he answered the door. The investigation into the shooting has been turned over to the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation.
So they went to talk.
Shooting lands one person in the hospital and another in.
Hold on, do an investigation. It didn't say that he had a warrant, and you know how it is. People, is Cincinnati open carry state? Y'all let me know. I don't know why he came to the door with a gun, but if you know that there's a criminal like that, possibly, I think that the cops should create a warrant and find an effective way to go in. So I'm kind of talking without knowing total details, but it just sounds a little crazy. This is the last one we're going to get into before we get into Ryan Hinton case, but the block is hot in Cincinnati. I'm going to send love and blessings out to the communities that's suffering these crazy situations, because again, we're watching it and we're talking about it, but these people are living it. They're living it. It's hard to live. Hold on, that's the Ryan Hinton one. Give me 1 second. Let's get to this. This is like Yahoo. Chief, 1 dead, after police shooting in East Price Hill, and this is in Cincinnati. Okay, let's get to it. The Cincinnati police officer shot and killed an armed person who fled from a stolen car in East Price Hill May 1st. Hold on one second. The police chief. I think this is. Hold on. Let's just make sure this is the Rodney Hinton one we getting into, or is this another one? Give me 1 second. Okay. At the news conference following the shooting, Tandy said officers with the Department fugitive apprehensions team learned a stolen car was in the parking lot of Westview. So this is the Rodney Hinton case. So radio traffic indicate officers arrived at the 250 block at 9:38 a.m. when they encountered people in the car. Tandy said that the 4 people ran from the car and did not comply with the officer's command to stop. Radio traffic indicates 3 fled into the woods, and Tandy said the 4th person was shot by the police. Okay, so that is related to Rodney Hinton. So we already in it. Now, what we're going to do is look into an article where Rodney Hinton was fatally shot by police, but his dad captured headlines. Here's his story. So his mom is trying to push, what happened to him, because it kind of was overshadowed by his father reacting like that, because the situation is questionable. Just because you were running away doesn't mean that you need to be shot. Again, do officers know how to run? Do they use tasers? How far is this person going to get in the woods? Like, come on, let's be serious. So let's just play this real quick and see what mom has to say. I think she's. Give it 1 second. Let the ad play. Thank you for being here today. Please hit the like button. We're going to get into these cases. We're going to read these filings. All right.
Even like if that was the case, he could have went to jail for that. Like, nothing that was going on at that time of his death. If he would have went to jail, like when he went to court, it wasn't going to be, oh, we're going to give you life in prison, or we're going to give you the death penalty for this, or you're going to get even an outrageous amount of time. Like being in a stolen car that they're allegedly saying was stolen, that's a misdemeanor. Having a gun, he just turned 18, that's probational. So,
and thank you so much, because you did verify for me. I appreciate you, Ms. Rec, that Ohio is an open carry state. So that even opens up a whole pool of questions that we can ask about their approach, because officers need to be trained different when you're in an open carry state. You can't always say you fear for your life because someone has a gun.
he didn't deserve that. And that should be the bigger picture. Like no matter if that was the case, like, okay, he wasn't going to die behind that. He wasn't going to go to jail for longer than 2.5 years for that. I would rather be sitting here struggling to put money on his books, money on his phone, commissary, whatever the case may be, than to have start a GoFundMe or get lawyers or to be sitting here talking about that, because no matter what outcome comes about, I'm without my son behind a stolen car.
And that's some of the things that we've really got to consider. The magnitude of someone losing their life because of an event. Our police really have to find a different way of approaching their job. It's not always shoot to kill.
it ain't that I don't care, but I don't care what he did. He didn't do nothing to deserve it. He wasn't robbing no bank. He wasn't shooting up a school, because school shooters be in jail. School shooters that's killing kids. The church shooter, y'all took him to Burger King.
Do y'all remember that?
But y'all killed my son for being in a stolen car. It makes no sense to me.
And I'm going to say this. Now that I know Ohio is an open carry state, I mean, for Rodney Hinton Jr. to allegedly have a gun that fell, and we're going to look at the coronary report where he got shot as well. It didn't appear that he picked up the gun and started to shoot. That's one thing, but it is an open carry state. So why is it such an emphasis on the fact that he had a gun? Honestly, it just doesn't make sense. And you can look at the video and see that he never actually pointed the gun at the officer. And this is the big discrepancy. So let's watch the coroner release new details about officer involved shooting. And then we're going to look at Miss Antoinette Holloway. That is who you just saw, his mother, lawsuit against the police for excessive force and wrongful death. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. Thank you for being here. Shout out to all my moms. I appreciate it.
Preliminary findings from the coroner and
I appreciate you. Thank you. You know, we switching it up, but we're definitely going to focus on a lot of police brutality, excessive force, and things like that. Hit the like button. Thank you so much. I love you guys.
preliminary findings from the coroner in an officer-involved shooting leave as many questions as they provide answers.
Today, the coroner reported that Ryan Hinton had 3 bullet wounds, potentially caused by 2 bullets. David Winter was at the coroner's news conference, which in and of itself was controversial. David?
Yes, it was, Paula. The coroner was going to release her findings last week, but postponed when the prosecutor served her with a grand jury subpoena. The prosecutor had said that she wanted all the information from the case gathered before releasing any of it. The coroner...
Why? So they could possibly put pressure on her not to release everything first? I'm just saying.
Flinched, then followed through with releasing her report today.
We wanted to present you with the actual facts and not have conjecture out there with somebody saying this and somebody saying this, and and it's all confusing, and then the tensions are going up. So let me provide you with the actual facts.
And here they are. The coroner says Ryan Hinton received 3 bullet wounds when he was shot by police. In no particular order, one shows a bullet went into his forearm and exited his forearm without hitting bone. Another bullet wound shows a bullet entered his left armpit, hit a rib, went through part of his heart, and exited the center of his chest. A third wound shows a bullet went into the back of his shoulder, traveled along his back just under the skin, and lodged at the base of his skull, still just under the skin.
I'm sorry, this is upsetting. This is upsetting because everything here from what I'm looking at is he was literally just fleeing. He was fleeing and the shots were just coming. And once it hit him towards his back of his shoulder, all of the angles highlight that he was just running. This is ridiculous.
The coroner says the bullet that killed Hinton was the one that hit his heart. The big question, how did the bullet pierce Hinton's side and then exit through the center of his chest?
Does that mean he was shot from slightly behind?
No, it was straight from the side. It did contact a rib on the way. So, as you know, when projectiles, when they hit something solid, they tend to deflect.
Ann Samarco says 3 bullet wounds may have been caused by just 2 bullets if Hinton had his arm back when he was shot, causing the bullet that hit his arm to continue into his chest. That explanation did not appear to satisfy the attorneys for the Hinton family after they watched the press conference on local12.com.
Yeah, that one doesn't make sense. Like he was like this. And I mean, he could have been like that, but it penetrated pretty deep for it to have an entry and exit wound through the cavity of the body. That's pretty thick. So I would assume it was like this. That's the first one. And then another one through, but y'all let me know.
They sent a statement saying it appears that the information provided by Cincinnati's police chief during her press conference on May 2nd is inconsistent with what the Hamilton County coroner presented today. Cincinnati Police Chief Teresa Thigi has said publicly Hinton pointed his gun at the officer and the officer felt threatened, so he shot him. Hinton was found with a gun by his side after he was shot. An underlying disagreement about the case between the coroner and the prosecutor was also front and center at today's press conference. The coroner was going to hold today's press conference late last week, but she canceled when she received a grand jury subpoena from the prosecutor about her findings.
Are you afraid that having this press conference is going to in any way hamper the prosecutor's efforts?
I am here simply presenting facts. And I didn't
those facts.
laugh. Thank you, Jesus, that she's transparent and she's telling the truth. Thank you to the coroner office, because if she was not and she allowed them to influence her, we may have not saw that right there. She definitely have a strong lawsuit against the Cincinnati police.
So critical in determining whether the prosecutor decides this was a justified shooting by Cincinnati police or decides to seek charges against the officer. Prosecutor Connie Pillich said in a statement today, this is one part of the investigation. We are going to wait to discuss this case until we have all of the evidence and do a complete review. And that review is still at least weeks away. Paula?
All right, David, and you can watch.
So we're going to be keeping up with what's going on. This is the last update that I know of, is as of May 25th. And I'm grateful that they released that. I'm grateful that she did not alter it, her perspective, and we get to see it the way they demonstrated it. I love the 3D view, you know. It is hard to watch, but that's what we're here for, because these things are happening and we have to find a way to help stop it and correct it and make sure that the people are informed. You already know, if you don't know law, you are still liable for it, and you have to learn how to protect yourself. But one of the things I want to bring up as we bring up her lawsuit right now is the fact that it's a possibility that it was going around on the internet that there was a rental car, and that rental car was reported stolen. So I'm not sure what type of investigation they were doing, like, let me say, how infamous this vehicle was and things like that. But that's some of the things that may come out later on. So this was filed on 6/3/2025, United States District Court of Southern District of Ohio, Antoinette Holloway versus the State of Ohio, Hamilton County Justice Center, Cincinnati Police, Sheriff McGuff, Governor Mike DeWayne. She's not playing. Claremont County Jail, Jane and John Doe, 1 to 20. And I believe I maybe think Jane and John Doe 1 to 20. Is that the officers that were at the police station? Let's watch what's going on. So, Second Amendment complaint for violation of civil rights. So plaintiff Antoinette Holloway files a Second Amendment complaint pursuant to and other applicable laws and Constitution provision. So these are the parties I'm trying to figure out. Plaintiff Antoinette Holloway is the citizen of the United States residing in the jurisdiction of the court. Okay. Defendant is the state of Ohio. Defendant Hamilton County Justice. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out. Okay. So she also named the sheriff and the governor of Ohio in this. Law enforcement agency operating in the Cincinnati Police Department, police area. All right, so let's get into the factual allegations. On or about May 1st, 2025, Ryan Hinton. And it's a little confusing because I thought Ryan Hinton, just to clarify, Ryan Hinton is the 18-year-old and Ryan Hinton Jr. is the father. I don't know how that works because I thought Junior supposed to be the son, and but I just had to clarify that because it's a little confusing. On or about May 1st, 2025, Ryan Hinton was shot and killed by the officers with the Cincinnati Department following a foot pursuit. At the time of the incident, Ryan Hinton was unarmed and not an immediate threat to officers or
the public. So they're represented as though he was unarmed. Maybe he did not pick that gun back up. That's why I would love to see the police body cam, because he dropped the gun. Do y'all remember if he picked the gun back up? So this is their stance that he was unarmed. So that's something that we just gonna look back on future broadcasts. Plaintiff alleged that the pursuit and use of lethal force violate the Cincinnati Police Department own policy, as well as Constitution protections under the 4th and 14th Amendment. In the connections with the incident, multiple individuals include Rodney Hinton Jr. was detained without bond, in conditions that violate their civil rights, including denial of due process, equal protection, and the right to counsel. So she's including the filing of Rodney Hinton Jr. so they can connect the case. The plaintiff asserts that the prolonged detention and lack of public transparency and efforts to suppress civil filings reflect systematic abuse. Governor Mike DeWayne, in his official capacity, bears oversight and ultimate authority over the law enforcement policy, detention standards, and civil rights compliance for the state of Ohio. So that's why they named him. So you know how when we were reading some of Hinton cases, and right now they're trying to get motions for dismissal, that's some of the basis right there, because they saying that, oh, they did not connect Hinton properly to the situation, just made allegations against her. But here is her connecting the government properly, saying that this is the person that oversees their rules, policies, law enforcement, and things. His failure to intervene or to take corrective actions reflect deliberate indifference and permits continued systematic harm. And that could be supported by some of the cases that we just talked about, some of the news broadcasts of the over 15 shootings, and none of the officers indicted or charged since 2015. All right. Claims for release: 1, excessive force, 4th and 14th Amendment, failure to intervene and protect. The second count, third count, denial of due process and equal protection. The fourth count, conspiracy to interfere with civil rights. The fifth count, supervisory liability. They trying to keep that on there. They like, you're not going to dismiss that towards the government. And the sixth count, deliberate indifference and patterns of inaction. Makes sense. So the request for relief is compensatory damages in the amount of $100 million, punitive damage against all appropriate individuals and defendants. And that's good. That is good. I'm glad they put that in their relief. Declaratory relief that the rights of plaintiff and the public were violated. So declaratory relief that the rights of plaintiff and the public were violated. So maybe policy changes that they want done. Injunctive relief, ordering reform, relevant police policies, practice, custom, and uses. This is a great filing because now they're not only asking for money, but they're asking for systematic changes in this. So if they win this, these are things that's going to happen. Okay. So this was Antoinette Holloway. Now, it's going to be more detail that come out because they're going to have to give more substance behind each one of the counts that they're trying to file. And I would assume that excessive force and things like that is going to highlight what happened to her son and probably what's going on with Mr. Rodney Hinton Jr. You know, that makes sense. So this was filed on 6/3/2025. And now we're going to go to death penalty trial set for next year in the killing of Hamilton County Sheriff Deputy. So this is Rodney Hinton Jr.'s case that has, put a lot of shadow over his son's death, but we're going to keep our eye on it so it won't get overshadowed. And as we say, we're going to try to talk about things unbiasedly from a legal perspective, especially when we get into this in this broadcast, when we get into habeas corpus, release the body. Because a lot of people don't file habeas corpus. They don't do that unless they kind of no. Okay, they no. All right. So death penalty trial set for next year in the unaliving of Hamilton County Sheriff Deputy. The death penalty trial of man accused of unaliving Hamilton County Sheriff Deputy intentionally driving a car into him is set to begin on January 12th. So we got about 6 months, 2026. At the hearing Thursday, May 22nd in Hamilton County Common Plea Court before Judge Joyd, I'm going to say Joyd, prosecutor and the attorney of Rodney Hinton Jr. scheduled multiple court dates in this case because they're going to start bringing evidence in evidentiary hearing, pre-trial information, because he's taking it to trial. He ain't pleading guilty. Temporary insanity. Hey, put the 8-ball in the chat, y'all, because when we talked about this prior, that was what I was saying. I was like, the only way I can see him plead into this temporary insanity, not only because I feel like he lost his mind, but the circumstances surely looks like it. He snapped, and especially how fast they released the video, and then he didn't get to go to a therapist or nothing, and then he allegedly, they said someone was in a car with him, but I don't think that was true. He was left alone. There's so many circumstances that highlight that this could have been temporary insanity. So put the 8-ball in the chat because we said it. All right. And that's what we like to do. It's all about analyzing too the circumstances and really looking at it critically, like out of your emotions. So that's where a lot of my 8-balls come from, for real. Okay. So Hamilton 38, wearing an orange jail uniform, was in the courtroom and stood at the podium next to his attorney, Mr. Bennett II, who initially wanted the trial to begin in October of this year. He was ready. But after a discussion with the assistant prosecutor, Kip and Kate, Bennett told Libero that January 2026 would work. So it looks like Rodney Hinton lawyer was ready, and they was like, wait, we need a little bit more time. According to the Cincinnati police detective testimony, the incident happened the afternoon of May 2nd. This is the same day that Hinton and other family members met the Cincinnati police and watched the body cam video of Hinton's 18-year-old son. Ryan being fatally shot by the officers. The shooting happened the previous day in the East Prince Hill, as what we just talked about. Several hours after seeing the video, officials say Hinton drove to the Cincinnati area and targeted Hamilton County Sheriff Larry Henderson, who was working traffic control for the University of Cincinnati graduation ceremony. So God be the glory that he didn't hit a lot of people. It was very tragic, though. I don't believe that it was right for someone that didn't have nothing to do with it to reap the repercussions of this. But this is the systemic issues that's leading to this. This is like a big pimple that's just about to explode if we don't address it properly. So prosecutor says Hinton drove directly at Henderson, and he stood next to the traffic light control. Hinton was described as being extremely distraught after watching the video. Bennett previously said that Hinton was not in the right mind, and that's what it was. Classic mental illness, criminal conduct. So Hinton faces charges including aggravated murder. He will continue to be held without bond at the Claremont County Jail. So this is what leads us to Rodney Hinton Jr.'s lawsuit that he files and the petition for habeas corpus. So let's get to it. Thank you for being here. I'm always thank you guys. I love talking about this stuff, and I love to analyze things, and I know that my audience do too. So appreciate you being here. Do we got it on the screen yet? Hold on 1 second. Let's go. Okay, so this was filed 5/12/2025. This is the one that hit the newspaper of Rodney Hinton Jr. plaintiff against Ohio Cincinnati Police Department Sheriff McGuff and her official in individual capacity. He ain't playing. And Hamilton County Justice Center and Jane Doe's 1 to 10 officials and individual in their capacity. Okay, factual allegation. The plaintiff was taken into custody. So this is Rodney Hinton Jr., the father, that is basically saying they beat him up, they hurt him, and they violated his 13th and 14th Amendment rights. Let's get to it. The plaintiff was taken into custody by the officers of the Cincinnati Police Department and has been detained without conviction or a meaningful bond hearing. And they did have that. He said meaningful. Okay. I think that was a bond hearing or initial hearing when you saw all of those cops in there the first time. That was the initial hearing. The plaintiff appeared visibly beaten through the arraignment. Okay, so that was the arraignment. I do apologize. The plaintiff appeared visibly beaten during the arraignment, reflecting physical abuse sustained in custody. Multiple officers was present in the court during plaintiff appearance, creating an atmosphere of fear, surveillance, and intimidation. The process led to the following plaintiff arrest, disregard from law protocol, and reflected bias, retaliation, and a systematic misconduct. Defendant action violate plaintiff rights under the United States Constitution, including but not limited to the 13th Amendment, freedom from involuntary servitude, 14th Amendment, due process and equal protection. Deprivation of rights under the color of law, that's under 42 U.S.C. 1983, conspiracy to deny civil rights, 42 U.S.C. 1985. Okay, so this is where they stand. Claiming for relief. One, they want to get him out of jail. Hold on, before I go to that. Plaintiff has been held in the system designed to punish, degrade, and silence him without lawful adjudication or legal justification. Claims for release. One, unlawful imprisonment. So this is falling under the 13th and 14th Amendment. This is their defense for it. 14, defendant caused plaintiff to be detained unlawfully without due process and without a valid conviction. All right. Defendant knowingly and willfully conspired to deny plaintiff constitutional right through intimidation, force, and unlawful detainment. They're going to try to drop these things because that's what they do. But it was a clear tone of intimidation in that hearing that we saw. So it was two sides to it. One, they had them in a box. They had the people in another box that was observing. The cops literally blocked the whole window so the family could not see him. He could not see his family, creating atmospheres of fear, intimidation, as well as him being by himself. That's what kind of sparked that situation with his brother, where his brother was like, I want to see my brother. I want to see my brother, because somehow, some way, it seems like his brother's been suffering intimidation tactics as well, because he did mention, oh, they locked me up. Please, I'm going to put the other video in there if y'all have not seen it so y'all can see that. We had showed it. So I definitely agree with that, but because I know the system, they're going to try to drop it. Excessive force and intimidation. The plaintiff was subjected to physical abuse and courtroom intimidation and violation of the Constitution protection. So they can subpoena or try to get the police videos from when he was detained, like how he looked from the beginning to how he looked when he was getting to the other places, even if they can't, because it's going, they're going to edit the videos. They ain't going to show that man getting beat up, but you'll see an obvious change from when he got picked up to when he ended up in the courtroom. So that's how kind of some of the ways they can show that the subjected to physical abuse, the intimidation, and violation of Constitution protection. We definitely saw that. Okay. So intentional infliction of emotional distress, defendant deliberate action caused plaintiff severe psychological trauma, public humiliation, and emotional damage. Breach of office. Now, breach of office, defendant, a sworn public servant, breached their oath to uphold the Constitution by engaging in lawful, cohesive, and unconstitutional conduct. Their action was performed outside the bounds of legal authority and in contradiction to their sworn duties. Violations of federal rules of criminal procedures. Okay. Defendant violated numerous provisions of the federal rule of criminal procedures, including Rule 5, failure to bring plaintiff promptly before a magistrate. I guess that's in regards to the bond hearing. Rule number 5, failure to inform plaintiff of charges, right, release, and conditions. Rule 46, failure to consider or offer bail. But I know you didn't get no bail, right? Rule 3 and 4, procedure failure in warranted and arrest process. And they probably didn't even read him his Miranda rights, things like that. These violations result in the extended unlawful detention, physical harm, and constitutional injury. Prayer for release. So this is what he's looking for. Issue a declaratory judgment that the plaintiff's constitutional right under the 13th and 14th Amendment were violated. They wanted to put it on paper. Grant immediate injunctive relief to review and secure plaintiff's release pending lawful injunction. Okay, award compensatory damage in amount of $5 million jointly and severely for physical harm, emotional distress, and loss of liberty. That's some big numbers. Award punitive damage in amount of $20 million to punish and deter egregious misconduct by the state actors. Okay, he is not playing. Award award litigation costs under 42 USC. Okay, so they're looking for litigation costs as well, and $25 million. Grant such other and future relief as the courts deem just, proper, and necessary. Okay, so this is coming from Mr. Rodney Hinton Jr., and I believe this was before a bail hearing. I thought he had a bail hearing and he just wasn't granted bail. So this is, here we go. Let me see. I have the habeas corpus. Which one did we just, that was 7. Okay, I'm sorry. I got 2 of these things up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being interested. I'm just going to go through a few things real quick. Hold on. Okay, that's a complaint. Okay, what is this? Oh, when we go into our next broadcast, I'm like, what is this? Because I don't want to drag this out. I do have some more information about complaints that was filed against Cincinnati police. I found this website. Is this the website? Let me show you. I found this website. Yeah, y'all know I'm always finding something. I'll be creeping. Yes. So this right here is the City of Cincinnati Citizen Complaint Authority. So these are complaints and reports that has been filed against Cincinnati. So we're going to get into that, but not right now. That kind of go with our opening broadcast, but they got a lot going on, guys. Cincinnati has a lot going on. So we're going to save that for when we follow up. I just wanted to show you that. I was like, well, what is that? I can't do 5 more tabs. Okay. Yeah. So what we're going to do now is get into Rodney Hinton Jr. This is the petition for writ of habeas corpus. Okay. So what is a writ for habeas corpus? Let's just put his document on the stage real quick. The writ for habeas corpus. Okay. We got it on the screen. So basically, habeas corpus in the United States, United States law affords person the right to petition the federal courts for a writ of habeas corpus. Individual states also afford a person the ability to petition for their own state court system for habeas corpus pursuant to their representative and constitutional law when held a sentence by the state authority. So it's in the aspect of a sentence, but he has not received the sentence. And they use this practice when they feel like it's unlawful detention. Okay, they use the habeas corpus. Okay. Now, the Supreme Court, a justice thereof, the circuit judge, or the district court shall entertain an application for the writ of habeas corpus in behalf of a person in custody pursuant to the judgment of the state court only on the grounds that he is in custody in violation of the Constitution or laws or treaties of the United States. An applicant had for an application for the writ of habeas corpus on the behalf of a person in custody pursuant to the judgment of a state court shall not be granted unless it appears that 1, A, the application has exhausted all remedies available in the court of the state as waiting for a hearing, keep asking for a court date, things like that. There is an absence of available state corrective process. Circumstances exist that render such process ineffective to protect the rights of the applicant. An application for the writ of habeas corpus may be denied on the merits, notwithstanding the failure of the application to execute a remedy, and we always got to have a remedy available in the court or the state. The state shall not be deemed to have waived the exhaustion requirement or the execution requirement, or to be stopped from reliance upon the requirements unless the state, through counsel, expressly waive the requirements. So basically, they have to exhaust all proceedings before this can be actually brought against the entity. You have to show that you've been asking for a hearing and going through the administrative actions. That's what it's saying. So let's just get to it. I wanted you guys to kind of get an idea of what it was, and it is a petition for them to release the body under the circumstances that the person under arrest have exhausted all avenues of trying to get out, and the state is not acting correct, basically. All right, now this is our last part to this broadcast. I just wanted you guys to get up to date with what's going on with Rodney Hinton and Rodney Hinton Jr. As you heard, we're going to be waiting for January for the proceedings to start with Rodney Hinton Jr. and the officer involved death. But we are going to keep our eyes on what's going on in the the court proceeding that's related to what his mother filed. Okay, we want to try to see more details into that. So the petition for a writ of habeas corpus, petitioner Ryan Hinton Jr. Let's see, respectable. I'm trying to scan through it so we can get right to it. Okay, so one, petitioner is currently, so these are the conditions right now for the filing. Petitioner is currently detained in the Claremont jail under the custody of Sheriff Satan without bond following his arraignment on May 2nd, 2025. Petitioner was arraigned on May 3rd, 2025, and has been held continuously without bond, without any conviction, and without meaningful pretrial relief. In violation of the 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendment. And that meaningful pretrial release is all those administrative actions or paperwork that they file in to get the court to move. Every time you file a paper, that's like throwing the ball into the other person's hand. You got to answer, and they haven't been getting response. So no motion has been filed on the petitioner's behalf, and the court has made no findings of the probable cause or necessity to justify continuing detention without bail because, to my understanding, Rodney Hinton Jr. doesn't have a background, to my understanding, because they would have been brought that out. Like, oh, he's a drug dealer, he's this, that, and the third. He's a menace to society. So this is why he's saying there's no real reason for you to hold him. He's not a flight risk, maybe he has active ties to the community, things like that. Petitioner has been denied bond despite the presumption of innocence and faces the death penalty under Ohio state. The penalty sought before trial without affording petitioner due process. During arraignment, a mass presence of law enforcement officers occupied the courtroom in what appeared to be an act of intimidation, chilling the constitutional protected granted to the practitioner. Practitioner appears to have been physically harmed and beaten while in custody, raising 8th Amendment concerns and potential due process violation. Practitioner is being held under conditions amounting to pursuant before adjudication in violation of the federal and state constitution granted, in violation of what the federal and state constitution grants. Practitioner has not been afforded a speedy and public trial, and the length of circumstances of his confinement are bright and excessive given the current stage of the process, because it's just the beginning. So you see what I'm saying? They still have to present a lot of this to the grand jury, but I guess they're going to move forward with charges, but it still has to be brought forward to the grand jury to move forward. And these process don't always have to have that person in jail unless he's a menace. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of excessive in what they're saying. Practitioner respectively invokes his right to be free from imprisonment without conviction and detention without the due process and require immediate judicial review. Wherefore, practitioner respectively prays this court to 1. Issue a writ of habeas corpus directing respondent to immediate release practitioner or showcase why he should not be released. So I want to, they didn't have the bond hearing, obviously. And that's a problem because I'm like, they have to say why they're not giving him bond. Is he a flight release? Is he da-da-da? They can even put him in, because he's pleading temporary insanity, they can put him in a psych facility. They can even do that, like, look to get him out of there and still have their eye on him, but they choose not to because I guess they don't believe that he was temporarily insane because, you know, your son get killed and you see it and you was planning to die before your kid and things kind of crazy and, you know, Black people, we don't get justice a lot. Nah, you couldn't have lost your mind. You couldn't have just snapped. But yeah, I'm being fictitious here. Order a expedited hearing pursuant to the emergency motion filed with this. He's like, either release the body or expedited hearing. Grant any further relief that the court deems just and proper. So this was respectively resubmitted. I know this was resubmitted on May 30th, 2025, because I think when he submitted it, he didn't pay and they had denied it and because he didn't pay the fees. So yeah, and it was refiled. Declaration in support of the writ of habeas corpus. Let's get to this. Internet Holloway declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct to the best of my knowledge. Okay, I have personal knowledge of the unlawful detention of Rodney Hinton Jr., who has been held since May 2nd, 2025 without bond or conviction. The state is seeking the death penalty prior to the adjudication or full investigation into the legality of his arrest and detention. So the investigation not over and they're already giving these harsh, charges, which is true. Law enforcement presence at the arraignment appeared excessive and intimidating, signaling a coordinated suppression of due process. His mental and physical conditions suggested neglect and abuse while in custody. He has not received any court-appointed motions or hearing to contest the legitimacy of his confinement. So based on his filings, they haven't contested nothing. They're not even responding. So that is where we're at right now. I'm going to do a little bit more research, see if we get any more updates, any more filings in regards to Rodney Hinton's case, meaning the son and the excessive force, in the Rodney Hinton Jr. case, the father, related to let the body go, and excessive force and battery and all of that stuff. So with that goes to say, I want to say thank you for being here today. We will be following up next week if it's anything that we need to talk about as far as if he got a bond hearing and or if he got bail or if they're going to release him. If they do that, it's going to hit the news. So with that being said, I want to say thank you for being with us. Shout out to the Levi family. Just give you a heads up. Tonight is the Thornton meeting. And yes, we will be trying to stream the Thornton meeting tonight. See how that goes. We pray all of that goes well. And we're going to leave it like that. Please hit the like button. And until then, you know what we're doing. This is going to be my spokesperson.
This is Super Mayor Tiffany A. Hilliard, the People's Mayor. So, you guys doing a lot of snitching.
I could not be here breathing and be comfortable if I was really as bad as they was making it. Nobody could be around me. So for me to be this calm, I must have some kind of inner peace. And my inner peace is knowing that once everybody take the time to really see what type of person I am, you'd be surprised that I stuck around this long.
I have to make the life that I do live as happy as I can and try to do the best with what I have. Live the best life I can live, be as happy as I can be. Nothing is perfect for anybody. I don't.
Boys, I swear, I think I figured it out. You know why they don't want us redneck brothers and sisters and the hood brothers and sisters getting along? You know why? Because we be unstoppable. I'm telling you right now, we would shut shit down.
I'm Cara Wilson. I'm the mother of Alexis Wilson, killed by Dalton, Illinois police. At the time that my daughter was killed, Tiffany stood in front of a microphone much like this and said that she stood with the cops, and they did do the right thing by killing my 19-year-old child. Not only did she not take those words back, she didn't offer her condolences. She's never said anything. The first thing she did was hire this group of security guards to surround her and PR. So the real reason Tiffany has security is hiding from accountability about what she said about Alexis Wilson when she was killed. Now, if you watch the coverage of this murder, these officers violated her rights, reached in her car, jumped in her car, and put 7 bullets in my child. 2 in her head and 5 down her side. And the next day, you guys tried to spin it like she did something. Watch the video. She did nothing to deserve this. And again, last time they brought up Alexis, she's doing what she does now. Look this way, look that way, every way, but at the person talking. You don't give a damn, and you never did, and you never acted like it. She called out a whole press conference to call my daughter a criminal, and Homewood Flossmoor graduate with no criminal record. But Tiffany, you have one, because we used your mugshot to protest in front of your house, and that's why you hid. That's why you have security. So let's tell the truth, which I know you're incapable of. I wouldn't trust this woman if she stood on a stack of Bibles and had her tongue notarized. Not a damn thing she says comes out her mouth is true. Thank you. Alexis.
All right. Okay. All right.
Amidst your shattering grief, the mayor of your village, Tiffany Hinton, who herself is a mother to a young daughter, approaches the podium. With a chilling lack of empathy, she callously declares to the public that your daughter deserved her fate, attributing it to her supposed poor behavior. She refuses to even acknowledge your presence as you beg for justice, your voice trembling with raw pain. Is this the kind of leader you want for Dalton? Someone so cold-hearted, so detached, so corrupt that she can turn her back on a grieving mother and a tragedy of unimaginable proportions. You have the power to effect change. You deserve a leader who embodies compassion,